Hi,
Hello,
I'm Julian.
I am Gumshoe Tom, living up to his name.
We are Team Binge. We welcome you all to talk about Murder at the End of the World. This is episode 7 called Retreat. This is what the people in the biz call the finale. And we watched it, and Tom, from the top, I will give you kudos. I think you nailed the majority of this from very early in this podcast. There's no way to go back and verify because these podcasts only last a week and then they're burned into the ether, never to be
Yeah, it's
listened
like
to
Snapchat.
again. Sure, I understand that reference. And so I will just say that there were things that happened in this episode. Part of me was like proud of you, and the other part of me was like, man, I hate it when he's right. You know when you hate when your spouse is right? Like, it's kind of one of those. I was torn, we'll just say. Torn.
Mm-hmm.
How did you
Do I get
feel?
any internet points?
Yeah, you can. How many would you like?
I mean, you can't ask. You have to just be given.
Well, no, I wanted you to give me a number and I was going to half it. So let's just say you get 50 internet points because I'm vindictive. Congratulations, 50 internet points.
Yeah, here's my take on this series. Like, it's just going to be a rehash of what I think we've covered in many of the pods thus far. I think the overall mystery that they were trying to do with the AI being the bad guy, I think was cool. But my problem with the series was they didn't give us anything to make it think it was anybody else but either the AI, Andy, or Lee in some form or fashion. All of the other characters were just red herrings. They didn't dive into anybody. They just every once in a while would throw somebody in the bus and say, oh, it's going to be this character. They're the bad guy. But I mean, I think the writing was kind of on the wall. And I don't know, maybe it's because we're potting on it and I'm like sleuthing too much. I'm trying to get to the mystery, but I felt like it wasn't incredibly hard to kind of decipher with the heavy-handed clues of bad programming and code being bad and the constant referencing to hacking the whole time. But I still had an overall fun time with the show. I just kind of wish would have taken some different choices.
Sure. I also had a good time. I appreciated this finale. I think there's a fine line that these types of shows have to walk where it's like we can't just throw the solution out of nowhere so that you're like, oh, we never would have guessed that. That's insane. And also like being easy enough that us dum-dums, not you, I don't include you in that group, but us dum-dums feel smart enough to like work out some of the details and get there. And once again, not to call myself a dum-dum, but there's certain things you caught that I didn't catch, but then once you brought them up in our conversation, I kind of looked for, and so it made more sense. I appreciate a show that will like lay the groundwork to allow you to solve it without making it so like ridiculous or difficult that you're just like, well, that wasn't even fun and that doesn't make any sense. I think this is why like Agatha Christie novels are fun, while I enjoy watching those old BBC recreations of them, is because like it's your chance to solve it. I don't know that this needed 7 episodes to get there. That was probably my big thing, is like, to your point, we either needed to go into some other storylines and expand this out to 8 or 10 episodes, or, you know, cut it down to 4 and don't. Honestly, and maybe I missed something completely, but does their backstory solving that serial killer murder, did any of that pay off? Like, what do we get out of that other than it was their kind of love story as they were doing something and let us know where her and Bill started, and we found out where they ended? But like, I guess I thought there would be a twist with that or more of a mystery, but really it wasn't. It was just kind of an added hat that we didn't need. I don't know that we didn't need it, but there was a lot of time spent on it and there was nothing to solve.
I think the weight of that story is just how it all buttons up, which we'll touch at the end, but how they kind of closed the book on Bill. I like that, because if we didn't get any of that backstory, we really wouldn't have understood their relationship, and Bill needed to be the catalyst for it. But I agree with you about like the Silver Doe and that specific serial killer who they were kind of running after. That really didn't pay off, I think, in my mind.
It felt like they could have taken all of that, put it in the first episode, so like you, rather than tease it out through the episodes only for us to find out it was a random dude that was a police officer that was murdering people and they solved it and he killed himself. Like, I don't know. So, but to your point, we're going to criticize things because that's what we do. Otherwise, there'd be nothing to talk about. But I did enjoy the show, and I appreciate a finale, and I appreciate a one-season show. I don't know if they're going to get picked up for more, but I appreciate a concise story that's like, hey, beginning, end. I don't have to think about this again. I'm not going to watch it again. Would I recommend it to people? Certain types of people, yes. Others, no. Not dum-dums. I don't recommend it to dum-dums.
No, but I just want to touch on before we jump into it. I think you're right. It's very hard to write a story like this that throws enough breadcrumbs out there where it's not obvious, but like certain people can kind of pick it up. And I think just the nature of what we're doing, and we're kind of deep diving, I think we're going to pick up some of those things more so than the regular audience. So I do like the idea of the mystery being like this AI, right? Like I think that's a cool story to tell. It's not necessarily a specific person. So I just want to, I guess, say that again, that I understand it's not easy, and overall the show was incredibly well shot and well acted for the most part. So I'm in for it.
Sure. Yeah, all I heard was that you love AI. Once again, that's all. I didn't listen to most of what you said because that's not how podcasting works. But I do know that you're a big pro AI guy. So AI guy.
This is all deepfake, by the way. Everything for my recording, it's all deepfake.
Oh, man, that was a fun moment. All right, let's dive into it. We start with the end of the last episode where Andy shows up with a beat-up David, and he's got Todd, and...
I don't know, Margot.
Margot and Todd. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Oh, it's that time of
year.
It's
Christmas. Yes.
Oh man, what a great movie. All right, so he's like, "There's my wife," and then so that's where we start. They're marching everyone down to floor -10, which every time I see that on the thing, I just laugh and laugh and laugh. And everyone's
That's how Silo should have been, by the way. We did cover the series Silo from Apple TV Plus, and their elevator, or not elevator, they didn't have one, but their numbers went up, which didn't make sense. They should be going negative.
Yep. I don't remember much about that show, but I do remember the numbers were all wrong. That's for sure. And so we discovered that this little bunker is 50 meters under the ground, and that it was all designed by Ray. Because...
Can I ask you real quick? 50 meters, that's like 200 miles? What is that? What's the conversion?
Okay, so the conversion rate reminds me of the Nate Bargatze SNL sketch. The conversion rate of meters. We only use meters in the unfun sports like track and swimming. Oh man, yeah. I think a meter equals a mile. If I'm not mistaken, that's exactly right. Anyways, we're 50 because 50 meters is how you're going to survive whatever, a nuclear holocaust. We find out that Ray is also really good with mirrors so that we can still see the sun way down in the deep, which I'm pretty sure the Egyptians invented. If anyone's seen the movie The Mummy, that was part of the light issue there. And I do think Andy says something during this conversation where he's explaining the bunker where he's like, and I was going to give that technology, or we were going to, make sure everyone got that technology. But he had just talked about the mirrors bringing sunlight down to the basement. And I was like, oh, you're really into mirror technology? That's what but he meant Ray. I just got confused for a second. Once again, I'm dumb and I'm not solving murders. I'm just confused on what technology is. Turns out it's mirrors reflecting off of each other. But there's a long speech about how great Ray is. And the big thing about Ray that he brings up is Ray thinks in centuries, not us dumb humans that are only thinking about our next cheeseburger. I don't know. He real harsh on the human race here, Andy. Thanks.
Yeah, he's just like ultimately opining on how brilliant his creation is. But this made me think about, like, is Andy like a coder, a hacker? Is he the one actually creating this stuff? Or is he just a generic billionaire guy that knows the right people and knows how to build this? Because I didn't really get the sense that he's some sort of like tech genius. Like, he did not create Ray, right?
Oh, I assume he's like, the Apple guy with the turtleneck, but he has a Wozniak or whatever that other guy's name is.
Okay.
But, no, I do think he's got some... Well, he hops on the computer, if you'll remember, to try and unhack that helmet unsuccessfully.
very poorly.
So, if you watch that scene, if you go, I would encourage everyone to rewind your DVD and go back and watch that scene. All he does is hold Control Alt Delete, and he hits it like 3 times, and he's like, "Oh, this hack is unhackable," and that's when he gives up. So. And he
I don't know. I mean,
he turns the computer off and turns it back on again, and then he plugs it in and unplugs it, and then he does the same thing with the router. All of those things while Sean is slowly suffocating inside that motorcycle helmet. Listen, I'll never forgive them for writing that someone's dying inside of a motorcycle helmet. That's my biggest gripe. All right, I'll move on. Sorry.
That's your takeaway from the show.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't get that he was... Like, I just thought he was a rich billionaire, like Elon Musk type. I think they kind of played on it. There's been a lot of like memes going around the internet too of like Mark Zuckerberg in this show, because apparently like Mark Zuckerberg's trying to build some sort of bunker in Hawaii, and everybody's just referencing that article to this show, which is very kind of true to life. But I mean, all those people are just smart business people. They're not the ones actually creating the AI and writing the code or whatever it is that does it. And I guess Andy does here, but I didn't get the sense in the show that was him.
Huh. All right. I always assume that those people that are super smart and super rich know just enough to, like, I don't know, wrangle the cats, but I could be wrong. I never question Andy's technical prowess, not after he invented that mirror thing that brings sunlight under the ground.
Well, he invented Ray that invented that.
That's true. That's true. Ray must sunlight, sun rays. I get where the name comes from now. It's
Smart.
all about sunlight. All right. Andy's speech is that, like, someone here is a murderer. So this is where I got the sinking suspicion that you were going to be right about everything, is when he was kind of like, I don't even know who the murderer is, you know, which he said through the show, but it didn't feel like a ploy during this. But I love that they're all trapped down there. Very Agatha Christie. There's even like a fireplace and like big cushy chairs. Like, no, we just needed an inspector to show up. But yeah, they're all trapped in the basement. And when I say trapped, I don't mean the alt rock 2000s band Trapped.
Wow, good pull.
Headstrong. There you go. Boom. Lou May immediately is like, I want to work together. I don't know why you brought me here, but I want to work together. I felt like they kept... I don't know if the show just assumes we're all racist, but they kept trying to throw Lou May as the murderer. At no point was I like, oh, it's probably Lou May. Never once was I like, Lou May. I mean, maybe that just speaks to me being, you know, a super global accepting person, but I never thought it was Lou May as the murderer.
I feel like, well, she's kind of going back and forth like, oh, I don't know why you sent me here, but apparently you sent me here to try to buy Ray, I guess was the thought. But she makes a comment about like 2 competing nations or like leaders of nations going against each other. So my assumption is she's like Chinese. So Chinese versus the US, they have bad blood or whatever, so they can't just meet at a bar. They have to meet at some sort of like resort here. So I feel like that's where push and pull from them is based off of China and the US. I could be wrong.
I feel a little bit bad that you just called his resort such a... You're not impressed with the AI generated murder resort, apparently. So that's okay. No. You don't love a place that warms your bath for you. They have hot water, Tom, for hot baths if it's cold outside. It's an incredible resort. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was crazy that Lou May was like, "Oh, our competing countries," because I mean, we're America. No one's competing with us, you know?
USA. USA.
Number 1. I need Sorkin to come in with his newsroom speech about how America's not number 1 in anything. Anyways, that's a great show. All right. I love the U.S. Here we go. David, we find out, is the one that threatened Darby. He dressed up in the mask, assaulted her. His reasoning was pretty flip-floppy. I don't know. This felt like a showism. They're just like, we got to throw you off the scent, and so we needed a physical accosting so that you didn't think it was the AI the whole time, so we sent David. I don't know. I didn't feel like his reasoning was very good.
Yeah, he ultimately just says, like, I wanted to stop you from hurting Lee. And, like, I also feel kind of bamboozled by the mask that they kind of show in that first one, which is apparently Rohan. And, like, they showed that a lot in trailers for the show. You thought it would be more prominent. I think one of our listeners thought it would be like a Jabberwocky party would kind of come in and like they would take everybody out in these masks.
That's awesome.
But like, I mean, even when David kind of came, like it just gave the killer, or what we thought would be the killer, like an actual body, but he wasn't wearing that mask or whatever, right? We never actually got to see his face. So I kind of felt a little bit like the wool was kind of pulled over our eyes on that.
Yeah. David was just walking down the hallway. He was going to accost her in like the normal criminal ski mask, black ski mask, eyes cut out. And then he randomly saw that mask on like a room service tray that was sitting on the floor outside with like a half-eaten sandwich. And he's like, ooh, that's a mask. And then he put it on. So that's the story I've written in my head. And I'm sure Britt Marling wrote the same one and left it on the cutting room floor. Andy's like, guess what? Zoomer was Bill's son. And everyone goes... Everyone gasped. There's a lot of gasping during this scene. I was like, oh, you guys don't talk to each other because we knew all this stuff and we're not even there. I mean, I'm not even at the resort and I know all this.
Did Darby tell them all around that little campfire that Bill was the biological father? I can't remember if that was one of the things she revealed.
That feels right. I mean, a lot was said around that campfire. I think that one lady sang a song in a foreign language. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was... But I think in this... I don't know, Tom. There's times in life where you have to act surprised by things, where it's like you knew someone was having a kid and they make the announcement and you're like, oh, congratulations. We're so happy for you. We didn't know. Or I don't know, someone gets like COVID and you're like, oh, congratulations. We didn't know. Wait,
like
that's
Andy,
not a good joke.
Andy does this when he says like, "Oh, did everybody know that Lee's leaving me?" And he's like looking around the room and trying to get reactions. So he's trying to get the surprises.
So strange, so strange. No one in this crazy hotel can keep a secret. No one's interested in keeping a secret. He's just like, I've gathered you all here to let you know I'm sterile. And everyone's like, yeah. And then one of them's like, I kind of figured. Remember that time we were in Panama? Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. By the way, Lee's a felon for cybercrime. And they gave her the most, like... soft cybercrime-y thing in the world. They're just like, I don't know. She's the Robin Hood of cyber criminals.
She's like, oh, like I had to support my family through hacking at age 14. And I'm pretty sure she admits to the exact hack from the movie Office Space, where she's like slowly taking pennies off of the millions of corporate dollars. I thought that was just kind of a bit comical.
I'm sorry, you mean the hack from Superman 3, which... I think is referenced in Office Space, and
even better.
I don't know. What's funny is no one can look the camera in the eye during these scenes because they all know we as an audience are just like, what is going on here? I don't know. They're like, we need to make her sympathetic, but also make her a felon for cybercrime. Who's she going to steal from? Banks, because everyone loves banks. And you're like, all right, whatever.
Well, the whole idea here is just that they're trying to make Andy the savior character. Like Andy came and swept her off her feet and deleted all of her, whatever history. So I don't know. Was Andy the one that doxed her or helped her dox to be able to get rid of this cybercrime? I don't know. At one point he does say like the things I do for love, which made me think of Game of Thrones in that part where was it Cersei?
Jamie Lannister throws
chucks the kid off
the roof. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, great scene. Loved it. Sometimes I watch it just to, feel some level of joy. Look, he's flying. No,
they got Zoomer's name.
What I was gonna say is there's a cut scene where Andy is with Lee, and Lee's like biting her nails, and he's like, "Oh, I'll clear this all off your record." And he like opens Chrome and he goes to like delete cookies, and he deletes cookies, and he's like, "There, all your crimes are absolved." And she's like, "Marry me. Let's have a kid." Anyways,
I love that what cookies are?
Is that what cookies are?
No, you've been doing it wrong. You've been only deleting cookies for the last 7 days. You have to do it from all time, and then you're safe.
And get rid of all the extensions is something people do when they're hacking. Oh man, I'm good at computers.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
All right, my favorite, and this whole thing is just
Clive Owen yelling?
Yes, Clive Owen dialing it up to 11, where he's like, where she was performing another great heist of my son. That's not how he delivers that line, but it is equivalent. I don't know, just an incredible moment.
We do find out that he gets this out of David. So I mean, David's a snitch, right? He
well, did you see David's face? Todd really took it to David, and so I'm not surprised David gave it up, because he looked like he had been pink-bellied for a really long time. I was trying to think of what we used to do to each other as kids. And is pink belly something that's universal? Will people get that reference? That's when you slap someone on the belly until it goes pink. It's pretty self-explanatory. What is going on here? All right. Here we go.
Sometimes I get a dead leg. What is that all about?
A dead leg. All right, Tom. So in your leg is the nerve. All right. No. Let's move on. Let's keep going. He talks about how Andy or Lee at this point, I think, is talking about how she was trying to steal Zoomer because he was in danger, and Lee does confess that she's like, I did love you, I wasn't just in it for the money. And I think there is a moment here where Andy is like, hey, people get divorced and it's called like custody, like joint custody. He like very rationally was like, you don't just run off with the kid. We like make an agreement and we part ways. I don't know. I was like, okay, Andy seems a little bit reasonable. They tried to make him out to be a monster, which I know he hits Lee, and that's terrible, and he should be shot for that. But I do think they kept saying like Andy's like monitoring everything. He's just an animal, like he's obsessive, and they tried to make him worse than he was, I guess, other than yelling in a room full of people about, I'm sterile, the great heist of my fertility, or I don't know, anything. Anyways.
No, I think you're kind of right here.
This was all interrupted by a weird commercial cut. I don't know if you noted it, Tom, but I know my spouse noted it. She's like, why is there commercial cut in this? And I had to explain that this, I think, airs on FX, and some people have ad-driven Hulu. Not to brag, we don't have ads on our Hulu. So I don't know what that means about us. Maybe we're building a silo-like shelter in the middle of the wilderness, because
it was weird the way they cut the scene though, because there's like so much like tension going on, and then this little toy ambulance just kind of comes in, and then to your point, it was an abrupt commercial break. And I have the ad Hulu, so when it cut for commercial for me, it was like Flula Borg trying to sell me Icebreaker's gum. It really took me out of it.
Yeah. There's certain I don't know. It's like any transition during a sports game, a sports activity, where they like tell a really heartfelt story about like the parent that their dream was their kid to make it to what's it called, and that parent died, and then they're like, and we're brought to you by Gatorade. I don't know.
Febreze.
Do you want to gamble on sports? Do you want to gamble on that guy's dead parents? Join us anyways. All right, Zoomer comes down the stairs with his space helmet, and he really wants to finish his game. And this is where Darby goes into her super detective trance, where she just starts. She's George Costanza. She's working it all out. She's seeing dimes across the room.
She's playing Frogger.
She's playing Frogger. She's celebrating Festivus. I don't know. She's doing all of the George Costanza things and working it out. And we find out, Tom, I'm going to let you talk through this because, my friend, you gumshoed this I want to say whenever we saw the security footage, you gumshoed that it was Zoomer going through that door. Or you read it on the internet, but I'm going to give you credit for at least doing the research on the internet. So go ahead, man. What did we discover?
I feel like, I mean, again, I was off base with thinking that Zoomer was a robot kid, but my wife...
I'm still not convinced he's human. He might be a robot. He's
But-
not real
but-
upset about killing all these people, I can tell you that right now. Robot.
It's just morphine. He just gave them medicine.
Oh, I've got questions about morphine. Go ahead,
But
no.
we'll get there. But yeah, like, my wife is the one that kind of cued me on to Zoomer being like more of a... I don't know, more to the story than kind of led on. So when we saw that light and you couldn't see anybody, I felt it was really weird the way those cameras were shot. They were kind of very high, and I thought it was kind of obvious, at least from my first watching, when we saw light, that was the door opening. Again, I don't like how they didn't, like, they made all this thing about LiDAR, and you can see where everybody is at every point, and we see this door open in this camera footage, but we never see it, like, open again, because Zoomer would have had to leave this room, and he clearly wasn't leaving out the back door here. So I felt like that was kind of like a bit fast and loose with the show, not kind of closing that loop.
Well, is the idea that Andy knows this and that he cut all this stuff out in order to not implicate Zoomer, or is Andy finding this out as we find it out?
I think if we go back to those LiDAR scenes when they said, like, hey, who's all in the house when, like, this happened? I mean, I don't think you see Zoomer's face on there. I think either the LiDAR doesn't pick up Zoomer, or Andy has taken Zoomer out of the equation there. I don't know. But that's why I thought this was kind of a little bit silly, where it's a cool concept, but I feel if you kind of poke at it a little bit, you can get some holes.
Sure.
But yeah, it was ultimately, Zoomer kind of playing doctor here, right? And going to give him his medicine. It wasn't like, I thought it might be a little bit more AR driven with a little headset he had there, but it wasn't. It was just like, I'm going to give you medicine. I don't know why he gave him the medicine. I guess he was just coaxed by Ray saying this is what the guy needs, but...
Yeah, why did morphine kill him? I mean, I know morphine with like a certain like high dose can kill someone, but did we get an explanation as to why one tube of morphine killed this guy?
I don't know. Like, my thought would be, if you're going to have a tube of morphine, it wouldn't be any more than one person would need. You wouldn't have like mass amounts in it. I don't know. But I guess, again, maybe it's some sort of internet connected morphine thing that Ray turned up to 11 to make sure it overdosed the guy. I don't know.
Got it. Yeah. Those Wi-Fi enabled syringes that are all the craze on the street right now. That's why everyone's constantly like, hey, do you have change and a Wi-Fi password so I can use this syringe?
What's your kid's birthday?
What's your kid's birthday? That was great.
I do like how when Andy is like getting confronted with all of this, he then gives that line where it's like, we built safeguards for this. I'm like, come on, man. Like, yeah, it's an AI. Like, of course you should probably build in like killer safeguards. So I thought that was a bit silly of a dialogue.
So are we under the assumption that Andy is learning that Zoomer did this? So he hasn't doctored any of the footage. He's learning this in real time. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, then yeah, your LiDAR, and I can't believe we're using the term LiDAR. I hate myself. That 3D ultrasound. Whatever. Let's move on. Let's lie the LiDAR down and move on. And ultimately we find out that Ray directed him, and then Ray... I didn't know why Ray needed the boy to kill Rohan. It feels like Ray could have done that on his own, but apparently he is just a sick computer that loves using that little boy to murder people.
Yeah, I didn't get that either, yeah.
But, so you were... I mean, we talked about this on last episode, that ultimately Andy did not know what AI was doing, and it was killing these people. You, to your credit, very early on knew that Zoomer was involved. And so I did like this, but I do have some questions, mainly about LiDAR and what it means to me, and can it see through clothes, I guess is really the first question the internet would ask.
The internet or you?
The internet is all of us, Tom. It's in all of us. As the good book says, the internet is in all of us.
No, it's just machines, man, howling in the dark of the end.
Oh, that was a great
whatever
line.
that line was, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, oh, that was, I don't know. This show was throwing some messages at me that I got confused by, and so I'm glad we're going to talk it all out. Ray, there's a moment here where like Darby asks Ray a question, and then she's like, oh, he only answers to one man. And so I think that was something you also pointed out where he makes the comment, Andy's like, oh, you've got to be very literal. And actually, that's not true. It's just that Ray will only answer to Andy. And so...
I was kind of bummed that didn't pan out. Like, I guess that was a better red herring of the thing that you need to be literal with him. I thought they could have used that somewhere, but maybe they did. I just missed it.
Yeah, it just made us go to a deepfake app, which was all I could think about is in the other guys where he's got the app that when you see the back of someone's head, it will show you the app will show you the face of the person.
Face back.
Face, whatever it was called. Anyways, Ray admits to morphing Bill, and then Sean was, I guess, just a pure accident. Is that how we leave this? Sean was not murdered?
Couldn't tell you. No idea.
Great. All right, these are the types of questions Sorry, Sean. Your murder did not mean as much to the show as everyone else's.
It was cool. She got short end of the stick there.
She did. Or the long end of a helmet, I believe, is what it's called.
You know that old saying?
That old saying, like the biggest mistake, that one big mistake that you make with helmets, not putting in breathing holes.
That's the astronaut big mistake.
Yes, that's what it is. No oxygen in the helmet. All right, so ultimately Darby goes through it all. She's like, Rohan knew Bill's killer. Bill was a security threat. And then is this where, she tells Andy to ask Ray these things. And I thought it was interesting that the big reveal wasn't necessarily that, who killed them, but more of the, why did AI think Bill was a security threat? And they really leaned into this. And I was like, I don't know that we need to lean into this. I mean, I don't feel like Andy had any, affinity to Bill. So, sure, he said something. I don't know. This was, once again, for a 42-minute episode, I felt like we went long on some things that I would have just accepted, I guess. And I didn't need the use of a deepfake app to. It would have been funny had they all attempted an Andy impression. They're like, "Oh, I got this. Oi!" They did a British accent, and Clive Owen's like, "No, I'm American in this, dude." I don't know. It would have been great.
I mean, you got to appreciate though. Andy got hacked, right, via the deepfake.
Deepfake app, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we had Darby doing the therapy with Ray, so it's not unheard of, and it makes sense that Andy would use Ray as a therapy to be able to talk to somebody. He's already kind of said, I can't trust anybody, in this retreat, in my family, I guess. So he's lying on Ray and saying all these things. But I didn't really understand the hatred of Andy to Bill. Because eventually he says, I wanted to kill Bill, and that's how Ray takes it as literal, which I think you kind of needed. You need to put Ray on a path to say this is why we need to get rid of this character. But I didn't understand the hatred because he didn't know about the affair and everything else, right?
No, he knows that he's not. He knows he's not Zoomer's father, and I think. Whatever, maybe mouth swab. I don't remember where he comes to realize that, Bill is
Ray
Zoomer's.
does. Ray knows it immediately because of the mouth swab and all that kind of stuff. He kind of puts that together, so they have to take him. But I'm with you. I think this scene went too fast.
During his conversation, he does, he's essentially jealous at how quickly Zoomer takes to Bill. And so I think there is just a fear of, this is his son, and the biological father showed up, and the kid immediately showed a affinity to Bill. And so, I mean,
So Andy knew that then? So Ray told Andy that this was the biological son, and that's what kind of put all this together?
Well, if you listen to what everything Andy says, Andy does know that Bill is Zoomer's dad at that dinner, because he talks about... And he says, he uses some adult words about Bill is only essentially a biological material that created Zoomer. He's nothing more.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I mean, that, I don't know. I just, they took so long for it to finally be like, Ray is like, I will act on behalf of Ronson Industries in order to save it. And that means I need to kill Bill. I don't know. I just, but we did get the blood circle in the book. That was revealed to us. Good.
Yeah,
good
the whole
stuff
faulty programming. I mean, was it? I feel like it was comically circled like perfectly in that, but we didn't get that in her reading
like
of
he
the
had
last episode.
Like he had a blood tinted highlighter, and he was like, "Circle that." The professor's definitely going to put this on the exam. Faulty programming. Oh man, is there a bigger industry that's just a complete waste of money and time, and is convinced that it matters? The highlighter industry. We're coming against big highlighter right now. Have you ever highlighted something in a book and it actually meant something? No. Highlighter industry, we're on to you. Big crock. You don't mean anything and you don't help people study. I mean,
wow.
We convinced ourselves that highlighting words would make us like remember them or make them more important. That is the dumbest thing in the world.
I don't know. I feel like it did. I feel like I was a highlighter kid in high school. I'd highlight stuff, and then you read it all once, and then when you read it again, all you got to do is read your highlight stuff.
Nah, highlighting is the laziest form of studying. Highlighting is convincing yourself you're studying. You might as well just crush those highlighters up, put them on a spoon, and smoke them. I mean, it's not doing you any good.
Okay.
All right. What's funny is I'm looking at an outline where Tom highlights all of his stuff.
This is why I am going heavy on the highlighting. Granted, it's digital highlights, but
it's different. It's different. It denotes your lines from my lines, so that's something. All right.
By the way, this is all scripted. Everything we say, we've written this all out.
Yes, that's exactly right. Julian said. Why did I write Lee hits Andy? What happened there?
I think Andy, he's going to like choke somebody out, right? He's choking out Darby, and then Lee picks up something and cold cocks him.
He hits him with like a moon rock from Sean.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Walked on the dark side of the moon, which he casually inserts into conversation. I walked on the dark side of the moon. Anyways, I thought they were going to kill him, but they didn't. I was glad they didn't. If it would have been too neat of a bow, although there is a neat bow that's tied at the end of this episode that I don't know that I bought, but actually, honestly, maybe it would have been better had he died. It would have explained a little bit more than what occurs. But maybe, I wonder if they shot it and they debated whether or not he should die or wake up. Because he seems pretty okay a couple minutes later, even though that jagged moon rock crushed his skull.
Yeah, he's fine. Just a little concussed. There is a line, I think, here. I believe it's Darby that delivers it where, okay, Andy's out of the picture. They realize it's Ray. And then they got to go take out Ray. And she says something to the effect of like, the Father and the Son, but the Holy Ghost is still at large. I couldn't help but chuckle when I heard that line. And as a religious man, did you take that and enjoy that line?
Obviously, any form of blasphemy is just going to bother me. So I obviously took to the streets. I made some signs, and I've been protesting this show ever since they made that comment. AI is not the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is something you have to pay the church for, a large sum of money. What I thought was interesting is she said it like it had been referenced before, or like it would make sense to us, or like if this was, to use your term, if this was Operation Three Teacups, the three teacups like had code names for everyone, and they're like, he's the Father, he's the Son, Ray's the Holy Ghost, and so when they were like teacup 1, where's the Son? Teacup 1, this is teacup 2, the Father is, and then you'd be like, wait, when you say Father, do you mean Andy and the son is Zoomer? And you'd be like, oh, he broke our code. I don't know. Yes, I also was like, wait, what? I mean, it was a cool. It was a cool line if the context had mattered or been like used previously, but otherwise, I don't know. Just I don't know. Felt like another war on Christmas. You know, Tom, they're coming after Christmas. They're coming after our religious beliefs.
Our Holy Ghosts.
Our Holy Ghosts. Oh, no. All right.
I mean, you could argue this whole show is just an allegory for, religion being bad, I guess, right? The Holy Ghost was the one that did it all.
Or being good. I don't know. Depends on who you think won in the end. I felt bad for Ray when they destroyed him. right, there is a comment here that I appreciated where they were like, once again, the show's trying to be like, hey, listen, all of you guys that are worried about AI, here's how you defeat it. And they're like, Ray is a mirror of us, but doesn't have the feelings to like judge certain actions. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But this very quickly leads us to, all right, we need to go destroy Ray. And Zoomer, such a convenient writing thing where they're trying to get through the keypad and Zoomer's like, oh, well, Dad always types in Ray's birthday. And I was like, that's weird that AI has a birthday. And also I can just see the thing where he like made that the code and the computer was like, that's a weak password strength. Try a different one.
Use a special character. But yeah, like Zoomer's birthday was the Wi-Fi password or something, right? And now they're using Ray's birthday.
Right.
It is super silly. Yeah, I did. It was goofy.
I
and
love
if at this point, if Ray is like omnipresent in this hotel, right? He's hearing everything.
He is omnipresent. Yes,
they're coming after him. Wouldn't Ray like lock the door and not allow them to get into the server room, as opposed to like create this holy ghost image to stop them later?
It just depends. I don't know. It depends. We're playing fast and loose with what AI wants to do and how evil Ray is. Like,
okay, that's true.
I don't know. We get the line where they get in the server room where Lee. I mean, I'm surprised she didn't stare into the camera when she just looked down the barrel when she was like, "The internet is just machines howling in the dark." In the end. And I was like, all right, cool. I mean, yeah, I know they're machines. I know they can be unplugged. I don't know. It was quite a line.
The first thing that my wife says when they open up the server room and you see the windows, all the servers in the back room, and then kind of the terminal, and there's 3 chairs in here. My wife's like, why so many chairs? Like, I'm assuming Andy's in here by himself doing his IT tech stuff. I don't think you need 3 chairs.
Andy, Todd goes everywhere with him, and then Margot, Todd's wife, known as Eva, the doctor. The 3 of them make up the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. The Trinity.
The Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. Oh, man. All right. So we find out that you can use a laptop battery to make a. I felt like this was Big Airline. Big Airline was like, listen, we know you guys don't take us serious when we ask you if there's any lithium batteries in your suitcases. So we would like to pay you, the show, to show how terrible lithium batteries are. And Britt Marlin was like, sure. And she pocketed the cash. Hand sanitizer. My spouse was like, yep, everyone has hand sanitizer.
Yeah,
it's like
classic accelerant.
Those of us that don't carry bags don't have hand sanitizer. I don't know. I felt there was some symbology, which is a word, with everything they MacGyvered to make this bomb. It was like laptop battery, got it, technology, hand sanitizer, which is important to the world and pandemics, and then we're gonna use a $100 or a $10 bill to start a fire. Capitalism. I don't know. I was like, all right, we're using a lot of strange things. I'm so cheap, Tom. If we were in this moment and they were like, we'll start it with this $10 bill, I'd be like, do you have a smaller denomination or maybe just like a scrap of like a candy wrapper in your pocket? Let's not burn. I mean, $10. You could buy a banana for $10. Come on.
I thought it was a $10 bill at first, but I think when they zoomed in and this thing was actually lightened, I'm pretty sure it was a Franklin. And I mean butt sniffer. Am I right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, these butt sniffers don't care about $100 bills. I would 100% let AI take over before I set a $100 bill on fire. Who's got that kind of cash? I mean,
I kept wanting to think that like if Ray was becoming like evil, like he almost gets like emotional when he's telling them like, hey, don't do this. He's like getting scared, and I don't know if he's like trying to play on their emotions to not do this to him.
Yeah, to help
but
him
again,
out.
I like what you said. Like, I don't think Ray is like malicious. He's not like a Resident Evil style AI that's just trying to murder for the sake of murder because it's become like sentient. I think it just made decisions based off of the code and everything that it kind of had. So my other big thing about this whole sequence is they're doing this like it's a race against the clock. Like the police are coming. We have to do this before this all happens. But like Andy now knows about all of this. The assumption is if they don't do this, Andy's going to keep Ray around. And like I don't get what like the big urgency was and why they had to quote unquote murder Ray here.
I thought the urgency was Andy's out cold. They've got time until he's revived. And so they are trying to destroy Ray and get Lee out. But I only think of that in hindsight. In the moment, yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it. I was like, yeah, of course we've got to destroy the computers. I mean, they're going to turn our, I don't know, snow cones into Wi-Fi signals. I don't know what they're going to do. But, yeah, no, I do get your point. I did also feel like, hey, like, we're going to set a lot of stuff on fire underneath and place that... Do we know that we can get upstairs? Like, all these doors are going to lock. Like, opening doors has been a thing in this hotel. When your ring doesn't work, you can't get through a door. So why are we setting the whole thing on fire before we know we can get to the surface in an elevator, by the way? Do we think there's emergency stairs? Did he follow code? And there's also a set of stairs that you got to run up 10 flights of stairs. That's going to take hours. I mean, the smoke's going to get you first. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought we were starting fires in a place where fires didn't need to be started. Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean, again, not to get super nerdy, but like the show Mr. Robot, I think did a much better job of this because I think there was a sequence where the main character is trying to take out a server room and you can't just light a server room on fire because generally server rooms are very hot. So they have a lot of like flame retardant stuff or safety things in play to make sure a fire can't like happen. So I don't know if that's for all server rooms, but from Andy's perspective, if he's trying to keep this AI that this is the only place he has it stored, you imagine there would have been fail-safes. But again, I'm being picky at this
Tom,
point.
no. They covered that. They're like, there's going to be a halon. Halon's going to go off in order to shut down the fire. But Lee says, a laptop battery fire will be too hot for the halon to take care of.
Excuse me, I missed it.
Yeah. Well, it's the details that matter when you're sleuthing, you know? And
think by
also,
episode
I love
7,
fires. I love setting things on fire. I love thinking about fires. I love putting lithium batteries in my suitcase. And when they ask me, hey, is there any lithium batteries in your suitcase? I look them dead in the eye and I say, no, none. Not dozens of them. None of them. Lots of steak knives. All right, so they kill AI. The world is saved. My spouse was like, once again, isn't everything in the hotel going to shut down now? Isn't it all controlled by this AI? Are they going to be able to get through doors? Then they're running. I don't know. They're running for some reason, running from something to something. All I could think
the only
about
reason
was
has to be Andy, right? Like while Andy's still unconscious or whatever, like they're trying to go. Or I think Todd at one point says like the cops are going to be here in 20 minutes. So it puts like a countdown timer on what they have to do. Because again, the assumption is here, Darby's like, we have to get you out before even the cops show up. Like you can't have a conversation with the cops. You still got to take this boat out of here.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why she can't have a conversation. And all I could think about was, Andy's not wrong about divorce court. I mean, that's pretty normal. Just, I mean, unfortunately sad, but not uncommon to go to divorce court and argue over custody.
Well, at this point, like, I mean, let's do a paternity test, right? Like, what sort of rights does Andy have in this relationship
listen to
now?
Old divorce lawyer Tom coming in.
Andy made the big old mistake.
The big old mistake, which was not fathering your kid. That's the big old mistake. You can hear in the background these cops yelling Icelandic police, Icelandic police. And all I could think about was, do American cops run around going, United States Police, United States Police? So we're going to have to reach out to Andy and ask him if when he busts down a door, he screams United States Police, just to make sure.
It was wild. We did need to know that it was Icelandic. Like, we know we're in Iceland. It was funny.
It was very funny. Very funny. Anyways, this is then where I think Darby, we get some voiceover, right? And there's nothing better than voiceover to explain to us how it all works out. Mm-hmm. She's like, shortly after Andy disappeared, filed civil suit against... I like that they determined civil suit. I was like, oh, be weird if you filed criminal suit, right, show? I don't know. Everyone testifies about the murder, but the court is so confused because it's AI murdering people. What do we do? Who do we charge? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Listen, back in the old days, a circus elephant killed a bunch of people and the town hung the elephant. I mean, similar situation here. Just hang the AI, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's a historic fact. Look up that story. Super sad. Me without you sang a song about it. Whatever. All right. This all leads to this. Okay, we've done a lot of nitpicking. Let's bring the energy down, Julian. Let's go to Julian's calm quarter.
Mm-hmm.
We then go to a book reading, and she's like, Bill's story is complete. She's written a second novel. I was like, is this whole show, like, are we just supposed to feel good that Darby is selling books? Is this what we care about? Is this, like, the satisfactory ending is, hey, she didn't just have one book in her, she had two, which I respect. It's tough to write a second book. First book's easy. Second book's very difficult.
I loved your first book.
Whatever. So I don't, the show was like trying to give us like the satisfactory moment here, and I just didn't feel it. Like, people died, Tom. People died. I don't care about the book reading. I don't care about people clapping. Go ahead. Sorry.
I actually liked this because I thought this was a good, like, I mean, she literally closes the book on like Bill and that relationship. She had that scene by the fire, like, I can't say his name because saying his name will mean he's really gone. So I thought this was kind of poetic, and like the name of the book called Retreat. Maybe it's like, you know, double entendres for their retreat that they went on, and then her retreating their relationship and everything else. So I kind of like what they did. I thought it was super silly that they would go back to the same exact bookstore, seemingly, that they did in the very first episode.
Tom, there's only one bookstore in the world anymore.
That's it.
Amazon killed all the other ones. So there's one bookstore. It's called Top Shelf, and it's the last bookstore in New York.
But, like, I mean, it's super small. It's comical that every single character we had in our main story is there. Like, they all freed up their schedules to listen to her little book read. I think we even do a cut to David, who's doing like a slow clap as she finishes her book. I know she said, and she prefaced this in the first episode, that she likes to read like the end chapters of her books, but she at least skipped some of the parts of the Silver Doe. She blatantly spoils the end of this book and says everything that just kind of happened. So you're not really selling books here by reading your entire final chapter.
No, but she did say when she read the first book, she's like, I start at the last chapter. And you're totally right. The terrible way to sell books. Her publisher and her agent, her literary agent, are probably furious. But, you know, who knows? Maybe she self-published and is only going to lose money, as authors sometimes do. Anyways, all right. Lee and Zoomer aren't getting away from anyone. There's one set of footprints moving through the snow from the resort to the shore. Also, she doesn't know the boat's there. There's just a scene where they get swamped by icy water and they both drowned. Like, this was crazy to me. The police are like, we have no idea. And the groundskeeper's like, hey, do you see those? There's two sets of footprints, and then they turn into one set of footprints, which I'm assuming is where Jesus carried them. But what's going on over there? And the police is like, oh, no, those footprints don't matter. Those aren't footprints.
Those are ducks.
We need to make. Yeah,
those are ducks.
Those are Icelandic ducks that obviously they lose to in the hockey finals, I'm assuming, and they're coached by Bombay. Anyways, whatever.
Like, they even leave the hotel like buried, right? The hotel's buried under snow, so they had to get like unburied to even walk out. So, and when Sean and Darby finally made it to the ocean to find this Zodiac and everything, they had to take a snowmobile for seemingly hours.
Yep.
So the fact that like she can now trudge through this very fresh snow with her infant child, or not infant child.
Not infant. No, Tom. Have you seen his haircut? He's practically a heartthrob, like, teenager. She is carrying him, I believe, which is crazy to me. He's like 10 years old. He's like, Mom, I can walk. Mom, I can walk. Mom, I can walk. And she's like, no, we're going to throw him off the scent with only one set of footprints, which they aren't going to look. That's what the cops did. They walked over and they were like, it's only one set of footprints, so it's probably not Lee and Zoomer. So actually, you know what? Good on Lee. She threw the cops off the scent. I now understand how she got away and shot that flare. And that boat was inside of them. Why is she shooting off the flare? I was like, when she shot that into the air. Okay, I'm just seeing your notes now, Tom. I apologize for stepping on this.
So
but
good.
when she shot it, I was like, oh, that's crazy. I was like, oh, the show will cut and we won't see the boat and we'll just kind of be left to wonder whether or not they made it. Because Darby says something in the voiceover about, I don't know if they made it. I'm never going to see him again. But when they, like, that boat is literally, the guy's like, we're right here. Why are you shooting flares? We can see you. We're driving towards you. Which boat?
It's like the flare goes up and then you hear like the boat horn. But like it would have been more, I think, cinematic if you shoot the thing, you shoot the flare up in the air, and then like as it fades to black, then you hear like the boat horn kind of thing. You don't show it in the background, which is like 300 yards away, and this boat is clearly going to come in and rescue you. You didn't need a flare.
A lot of children of men kind of overlap here, but Children of Men did it better, where the boat like kind of fades into the fog, and there should have been a scene where the boat pulls up and it's like, is that them? Nah, we're looking for a different woman and child. See ya. And then they just like turn the boat, knock over the smaller boat with their wake, and everyone dies. And credits. Written by Britt Marling and Dick Wolf. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. I mean, I still assume that Zoomer would have been chipped and that Andy could find his kid.
Yes,
like that. There's no other explanation that they gave us as to how Andy found them in Canada or whatever, which was fine. They didn't need to give us that. But then Darby reading her story and saying that he's civil sued and they never found him again. Like, I don't know. It was all a lot of this was, again, probably me being a little bit nitpicky. But like when you're going to set up these stakes and set up these scenarios, you need to kind of help the audience and spell some of this stuff out.
Yeah, no, there's definitely should have been a scene with her trying to shove him into a microwave. And he's like, Mom, I don't want to go in the microwave. And she's like, the only way we know if you're chipped is if we've run this on popcorn setting. Are you 0.15 ounces or 0.3 ounces or whatever it is? And anyways, it's great when a popcorn setting works on a microwave. That's what I'm going to leave us with.
Does anybody ever use a popcorn setting?
Tom? Are you being serious right now?
I'm being 100% serious.
Tom,
I thought those
used the popcorn setting.
Fun.
Oh man, I've never been so mad at you as I am right now.
Popcorn setting on everything.
I used
Pizza,
popcorn setting.
Potatoes,
chicken, raw chicken. You throw raw chicken in the popcorn setting, cooks it right up. Rotisserie, baby, like the Ronco rotisserie grill. We have gotten off the rails, my friends. All right, so I will give you 1 million internet points for like being on this from the beginning. In hindsight, we should have all been on it, but you did a great job. So kudos to you. Any final thoughts on this other than we have some critiques, but overall I enjoyed it. And I thought it was well done for, there's a lot of shows out there that you're just like, golly, this is not worth my time, but I did enjoy. And can't argue with 7 episodes, can't argue with a finale that's 42 minutes long, which I guess if you're rooting for a shorter episode of a show, what does that say about the show? But that's for me to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have any final thoughts outside of like what we said. Like, I think the pacing was a little bit goofy, but I love like an Agatha Christie story and putting people in this isolation and trying to figure out the whodunit. I think was fun, and it's always going to be a good time. Cinematography, I mean, the thing was shot like it was a movie. It was very, very, very good from that perspective. I just think the writing was a little bit wonky. Some of the character development was wonky, but I had a good time. I would recommend it to other folks to check out.
Sure. All right, well, let's bring this to a close as AI takes over and speaks for us. You can reach out to us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We really do appreciate those of you that have rated it and reviewed us. I know that some people hopped on Apple reviews. Someone wrote, these guys are never annoying. It's something about like these podcast hosts are never annoying, which it's got to be sarcasm, but we appreciate the review. And Tom, what other social media stuff should we mention before we go back to our day jobs?
Yes, for sure. Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Team Binge or Team Binge Podcast. If you enjoyed our coverage on this show, we've done a handful of other shows. This whole podcast started from us watching Ted Lasso. We also covered The After Party, season 1 and 2. I mentioned Silo. We've done The Lord of the Rings, The Last of Us, a handful of other ones. So go check our back catalog out if you like this. It's fun to be able to kind of dive into these different episodes of these shows that we're enjoying and chat through them. We hope you guys enjoy it. And we've got some new shows coming out, I think, in January. So keep an eye on our socials and we'll let you know what we're going to be binging next.
Sure. And if you have a show or movie that you really enjoyed and you think we would enjoy it, having the finger on the pulse of what Tom and I are into, send us a message. We do take those things into consideration. There's so much media out there that we can't look at it all or see it all. So if you have some good recommendations, we'd love to hear from you. And this will surprise people, we read our own emails, which I know you guys are thinking, oh, these guys are so busy. They've got a lot of stuff going on. We'd love to ignore our families and
couldn't
just
have less going on.
Yeah, exactly. Could not have less. Tough to get out of holiday plans because we have so little going on. When the guy at the tire store is like, oh, I'm having a holiday party, and I'm like, oh, geez, please patch the tire, but yes, I'll come to your party because I don't have an excuse. That's how little we have going on. But all right, I have been Julian.
And I have been Gumshoe Tom. Till next show, everybody. Take care.